This episode is brought to you by the Thrive Tribe. Check it out at chasingbrighter.com/Thrive Tribe. Welcome to Superwomen Diaries, where each week we share personal stories and open up about our journeys. At Chasing Brighter, we know that being a woman today is complicated.
We want to get vulnerable. We know that vulnerability is where real connection happens. Get ready to dive deep and connect as we reveal the real and raw moments behind the scenes of our lives.
Hey, Kelly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jessica. How are you? I said Jessica.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
really say
new.
that too
Okay,
often.
so I am really struggling and I want to talk a little bit. This new administration running our country has been, I don't want to get like super political, but I just want to talk about how it's really impacting me. So, to understand, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have a master's in social work, right? So, what is social work and what do social workers do, right? We're about social justice and marginalized communities. And so, I spent a lot of years, like, you have to take classes on race and racism in the master's program. And so a lot of the stuff that was announced today is really kind of like devastating to me. And and so I also, let's tie that with I have PMDD. I'm 46 and in my late 30s. I had kind of noticed a lot of mood shifts and stuff kind of happening. And so PMDD is a chronic mood disorder that can cause severe depression, irritability, and tension before menstruation. So a week before menstruation, you can be insane. Okay. So what can happen for people extreme? Sadness, hopelessness, irritability, anger, feeling overwhelmed and anxious, fatigue, headaches, insomnia, mood swings, all these wonderful things. So I realize that I'm also kind of irritable on where I am in my cycle. And I just, anybody out there who is listening who is struggling, what we have decided to do at Chasing Brighter is to bring light, to bring joy. I watched a thing with RuPaul, and RuPaul said, there is darkness, and you can look at the darkness, but don't stare. Choose to be the joy, light, and to create. And so I don't want to act like we're idiots and we're not aware of what's happening out there. We do acknowledge it. Follow us on social media. We do advocate for, what we believe in, but also we just want to be a source of joy and light for people. So did that all make sense?
Yes, it did. I was going to say a couple things. First of all, 100%, I was texting you. Did you watch the Chiefs game?
We were traveling.
Okay.
We were
Because the
traveling,
back
so
of their helmets, they have choose love.
yes, yes.
And I just think that we have to we choose love
Yeah.
and kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree that there are a lot of things that are concerning to me. I shut off all news for a while and now I'm back in it because I think we choose love and kindness, but especially with everything that's happening, we absolutely need to stay informed, need to, even to what you were just saying, to watch it. Part of this is like listening to multiple news sources and truly being aware and really seeking out the facts of what's happening. Even some of the news can really perpetuate a lot of fear and anxiety. The headlines can just like really, it's clickbait. It's terrible, some of the stuff just to
Yeah.
get you to read, where it's very much misconstrued. And so, I think that I'm trying to I think we're all
Yeah.
trying to navigate this in a way, but we are in our lives right now. We get up,
Yeah.
we're making breakfast, we're staying healthy, we're keeping our family safe. And I know that there are a lot of families that don't feel safe right now, and my heart and prayers go out to them.
Right. And
Even like the school lunch thing, like, is Becca going to lose school lunches? Like, am I going to have to start packing lunch? First world problems. We can hardly figure out what we're going to pack for tomorrow's field trip.
Right.
I've been advised Walgreens has apparently some snack packs with salami and crackers,
Yeah.
and they are not the things that I have in my house, Jesse, are apparently not at that level. I was like, we have club crackers, we have Ritz. Nope, that's not it. So how am I going to deal with that on a daily basis if I have to pack lunches?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I agree. Choose love and kindness.
Right. It reminds me though too, like when we talk about that balance of wanting to put our head in the sand, staying informed, all of that kind of stuff. It reminds me of poem, that poem First They Came by Pastor Martin. I'm gonna butcher his name. I don't know, Niemöller. Where it's kind of like first they came for the communists, I didn't speak out because I wasn't communist, and they came out for socialists, I didn't speak out because I'm not a socialist, right? And then it goes on, and then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think this is an opportunity to become an advocate and look at how you can use your own influence, and whether that is donating to causes that you care about or kind of looking at what's in your sphere. I encourage my clients to look locally. What are grassroots efforts for you locally that you can volunteer and find causes that are important to you? And so there is ways that even though we may feel helpless or hopeless, there are things in our area where we can help. You know what I mean? There are things that we can do. We do have influence somewhere, whether it's donating, helping, volunteering, if that makes sense. Again.
I think that's really great. And I think maybe that's what we can start to really add as a theme for the next several weeks/months is thinking
Mm-hmm.
about ways to help
Years.
folks get involved and or years. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we can feel like we're helping contribute and make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the meantime too, really about choosing to be joyful and choosing love and kindness and choosing things that we can dwell on. I had a kind of a chuckle this week. I was reading an article about a woman who like lives in Canada, and she
Mm-hmm.
was like, there's a lot of snow, 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 snow. And I was like, oh man, like I miss snow. We don't get snow right now. We have not had snow for a couple years. We have not had more than a handful of inches. It melts off in the city. And she quoted this phrase that I thought was really funny, which is to tie this all back. If you choose not to find joy in the snow, you will have less joy in your life, but still the same amount of snow. And so it's kind of that way with everything else
Yeah.
we're doing, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
like you can choose to like not find joy in your life. The world is still happening around you.
Yeah.
And you can choose to
Yeah.
find those joyful moments or you can choose unjoyful. We at Chasing Broader are choosing joy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the ways that you're choosing joy is you guys are getting a pool table. That
I
sounds so
hope that
fun.
the power drill in the background doesn't get picked up. So,
Mm.
yeah, we are, everybody in their homes. It's always a work in progress. And we are finally setting up a little bit more of a game room in our family
Mm-hmm.
room. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how the couch is going to work because we did get a giant couch that might start to
Wait, a
impede
different
on
couch
this thing.
or the same
No,
couch?
but
But I
just the
love the
same
couch you have.
couch.
You know what I like to
Yes.
call it? I like to call it a mega den. And so I call our front rooms the mega den. So if you look up like mega dens, it's really inspiring for
So
game
we
room
we got a
situation.
pool table. We went to a pool table or like a pools and spa
Hmm.
place. And I was just like, let's just order one on Wayfair. Who cares? And Brian was like, no, it needs to be slate, blah, blah, blah. So apparently that's a thing. Again, we never
Hmm.
had pool tables growing up. We went to
Yeah, they
places that
have
had
like
them.
slate in it. Like I
It's
don't,
a single
yeah.
piece. And
Hmm.
actually, so they actually glue the felt on the pool table
Yeah.
when they come here. They have to do the
Okay.
leveling. They're doing all the
Hmm.
things. That's like
Yeah.
the pool table. And we got that attachment or add on to do a ping pong table. I wanted a separate ping pong table, but that has since been vetoed. However, tomorrow I'm getting my dartboard. I ordered a dartboard off Wayfair, which I was
Yeah.
very excited about. So we're getting some fun things. I think we're it's winter in Chicago. A lot of times we're staying in, trying to
Yeah.
find activities to do as a family
Yeah.
as well. So I think it should be a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Looking
We
forward to
did.
it.
We have like a pool table and an air hockey
Yeah, you
table
guys have, yes.
upstairs, shuffleboard. I'd like to move the shuffleboard back downstairs, but Justin's like vetoing that. But so Dominic wanted for Christmas a little over the door basketball hoop. So Gabby got that for him for Christmas. And it's actually like really
Is it still
substantial.
assembled? Is the net still
It's,
intact
yeah, it's
at this
really,
moment?
really substantial,
Oh,
like
that's good.
very nice. I don't know if it's like a hardcore plexiglass or it's actually glass. And so our front door is, I don't know, 8 or 9 feet high. So Dominic first put it like in, he was saying it wouldn't go over the door in his room and the door wouldn't close. So he had it over like the pantry door, and then everyone was kind of playing in the kitchen area. And then they went and put it, which I think they've ruined.
The
They
front
went and put
door.
it like we have plantation shutters, and they like put it over the plantation shutters.
Oh,
And
no.
then, they're like, it's a house full of teens. So then I was like, why don't you put it over the front door? And they were like, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work. So mom goes over there. I get a ladder. I put it up. It fits perfectly. And John was like, it didn't do that when I tried to do it. So and our like the hoop can flip up, but the door is really high. It's like nine. I think it's a 9 foot door. I don't know. Anyway, so we have it in there, and that room already has the pool table and like wood floor. So they're just, we now have a basketball court in our front room. And I just remember when my husband wanted a pool table in the front room a million years ago, I was like, that's tacky. I'll never do that. And a lot of people in Vegas do it. And
Yeah.
we've had people comment like, oh, I can't believe you have that you let you have that in your front room. But it's kind of like these are formal rooms that aren't, hadn't been used. And now we know when kids
Yes.
come over, they all gravitate toward all of those
I
areas.
I'm a huge fan of sort of thinking differently about the function of spaces in homes.
Right, right.
And, everyone always just wants this traditional dining room or all of those things. And that may work for some people
Yeah,
who appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, but in a lot of ways, it's like figuring out how to really make the most use of spaces as gathering points,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you've created this space that's a gathering point for people when they come over. I mean, your house is
Right.
very open anyway. So I think it's cool. I appreciate it. We don't have a formal dining room, and we turned the dining room in our house into another sitting area,
Yeah.
and that works for us.
And again, how can you enjoy your space more and have joy? I do want to talk about my son had told me that a friend was taking his lunch, and I totally just don't remember that situation. So I don't remember how it came up.
A friend was like
Eating his
retrieving
lunch.
his,
I
okay.
don't remember. Again, have no brain. So then he's telling me the friend is eating his lunch. And I don't know how it came up. And I was like, what? And he was like, remember, I told you, Mom. And I think he told me right before winter break. And I was like, tell me the situation. Kelly, I know this child's parents. This child has been to my house. Puts his hand out to my baby boy and says, I'll have my usual. And he is eating more than half of my son's lunch. And when my son had told me at first, it's because this child was eating his lunch during recess. He was eating his own lunch during recess and had no food left. And then was asking my son, and my son was like, so we are a Title I school, which means that we do have, it has to do with like the like socioeconomic background of a majority of the students or whatever. So we have free lunch. Free
Hmm.
lunch for everybody. Everybody has free lunch.
Hmm.
Okay.
Same for
And
mine,
right.
for
And
Becky.
so there's lunch for this child, number one. Number two, I know for a fact this family went on a trip to Hawaii. So I'm like, listen up. This isn't a less fortunate child who's looking for some lunch. You have the finances to get lunch, okay? So my first and third children are incredibly empathic and have anxiety. So this is like so to ask him to like tell this child no and to let somebody down and to set a boundary is like was like
Oh, no,
horrifying
no,
for
no.
him.
I can't imagine him saying no
Yes.
to anybody
Oh,
because he's
okay.
just such
Yes.
a sweet.
He's so loving and sweet.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, I'm so I'm horrified to tell you what I give Giovanni for lunch, but I will share one item.
You made it
Giovanni's
so that it wasn't the
incredibly
usual.
picky. No, so this kid is taking, let me tell you what this
You're
kid is
going to
taking.
shut
Think
this
about this
down.
economy, people. Bacon. Okay. So Giovanni eats like nothing, but he loves
Hmm.
bacon, and I'm like
Yeah, he's
trying to
been
get
eating
this kid
bacon for lunch
protein.
for years.
Yes, he may have high cholesterol, I don't know, but like if you think about how obsessed we are with protein, I'm trying to figure out how to get this kid protein, right? So he has bacon in his lunch, which I already think I know that's weird. The kid is eating his
Oh
he
no.
goes, oh, he'll have like one or two slices of my bacon. And I'm like, listen,
Did he say it in
sir. I
a
was
whispery
like,
voice, or was it
and
very matter
here's
of
the
fact?
thing too. So as a parent, like it's just like you have to like really listen. And he's very scared to tell me. And you know, his
Yeah.
teen siblings. So
Oh, they are
if
like,
I
oh, you know your
rewind a little
rights.
bit, this child, okay, we'll call him little Timmy. So when we pick up the kids, Giovanni is a walker. Okay. School is out at 3. The whole school was cleared out and he was not getting to my car until 3:15 because Timmy was waiting for his sister. And Timmy was like, you have to wait with me, Gio. And Dominic was like, I don't know who this Timmy is, but you tell Timmy no. And Timmy was like, if you don't wait for me, we're not friends. So this is already how Timmy is, right? We're all over Timmy. So Giovanni was coming very late after school because he was hanging out with Timmy, who was his friend, who was telling him, you have to wait with me. So we had to practice over and over and over. You need to tell Timmy, no, you have to come to my car. So I already know it's one of those kids that has that like relational aggression that like, you know what I mean? Like you're friends with me, then you can't be friends with that person. Like he's already like some drama.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
So Timmy is dead to Dominic. Dominic's already like, yo, that's not a real friend. He's always like yelling. And so it was a huge deal to get Giovanni to set boundaries and tell Timmy, I have to go to my car. Okay. Now Timmy's still in his bacon. He's stealing his chips. He's taking like all of his lunch. And so on a Friday, I'm like, this is what we're going to do, right? We're going to have all these talks. Well, it was a 3-day weekend. This was a few weeks ago. And all of a sudden, Gio was like, I don't want to go to school. And he was like screaming about not going to school. And, you know, his anxiety comes out like defiance. And so it was so exhausting that he's like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to school. I hate school. I don't want to school. And then, hello, ding, ding, ding. He doesn't want to go to school because of this confrontation with Timmy about telling him he can't have his lunch. So we do a lot of role play and I'm like really funny. And I'm like, okay, you want to be Timmy or are you going to be you? And he's like, okay. And so I was Gio and he goes, I'll have my usual. And I go, here's what I have for you. And I pretend to get on my back and I hold my fist up and I go, I got a knuckle sandwich. And he's like laughing so hard. And then but he had to dig in my lunch bag and I go like, I pull out my middle finger and I'm like, here's what I brought you today, Timmy. And I mean, he's just like dying laughing and we're like making jokes about it. And then he decided he wanted to like, you know, my mom found out because I come home because that's what was happening is he was so hungry after school and I was like, do you have any lunch left and everything? And so he was like, I'm gonna tell him that my mom found out and you can't have my lunch. So he goes to school. He tells Timmy, you can't have my lunch because my mom found out and I'll get in trouble, you know, and Timmy doesn't respect boundaries and asks all kind of boundaries. And then Timmy says, okay, go get me a tahine packet at the other table because they have tahine at school. They have little tahine packets. And I'm like, it's like he had to establish his dominance. You know what I mean? By like, okay, not get my lunch, but go get me that
Is
tahine
Timmy
packet.
also a younger
Yeah,
sibling of older
he's 2.
siblings?
He has
Okay.
a middle school. And so I was just like, you know, Dominic was like, you tell him get your own tahine packet. Like we're like freaking out.
You have
Okay,
tahine
day
packets at
2.
school?
Yes,
Wow,
yes,
that's fancy.
yes. And so okay, so then day 2. Day 2, the kid is like, so then Gio still has anxiety, like pack stuff he doesn't like, send all this food, like give me a different lunch, like so much anxiety. So then he goes the next day and he goes, oh, you have sun chips. I've never had sun chips before. Please, please, please. I pinky promise if you give me your sun chips, I'll never ask for your lunch ever again. Okay. So Gio gives him his sun chips. Then day 3, nothing. Day 4, he says, I've never had Go-Gurt. Can you, this time I promise, I double pinky promise. I double pinky promise. If you give me your yogurt, I'll never ask for your lunch again. And Gio was like, and if you ask again, we won't be friends anymore. So this is week 2 we're in of the lunch saga. And I saw every time I see the kid, because Gabby and I volunteer and make copies at school, I want to go in the lunchroom and I want to go to that kid. I want to be like, listen, if I hear that you take, right. So
Did you watched Good Girls for a little while? Did
just
you
the
watch
like
the
first 2 or 3
scene
episodes.
where the kid was being bullied and then the mom brings in this like assassin guy?
I don't
And
know.
like it was
I
really
remember.
funny.
Yes, that's how I feel. And
But
so, because,
yeah.
Dominic, I wish, Dominic, I'm like, Dominic, go find him because Dominic doesn't care. So I prep him again and everything. And he's like, well, he said, double pinky promise, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just been kind of monitoring it and seeing how it goes. But I think one of the things that we forget a lot of times as parents is one, if a kid says something to us, make sure that we're not triggered or angry or like screaming at the kid. And then can you have compassion to where he's coming from and not like yell at him or scold him, but realize like for him to disappoint, like he's a people pleaser, right? And to disappoint somebody and to say no is really scary. So we're working on it.
I just finished the book Good Inside, which
Oh,
is such a nice
ah,
parenting book. I think, especially for parents of younger school age children or elementary age children, I would say. But the one thing that I really appreciated about the book was really trying to talk to your kid at their level in a way that they feel they can feel safe and
yeah.
be vulnerable in a way that they don't feel like they're going to be judged. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
great that he told you that. And I think it's
Yeah.
really great that you're working with him on a lot of the book was about role play,
Yeah.
about like really getting to your point, like getting inside your kid. Like the one thing I took away from it is you'll have this really great run of many days strung together where your kid's fantastic, life is going good, and then something happens and you're having this difficult moment and day. And it's like,
Yeah.
instead of falling into the like forcing them to be the way you want them to be, it's sort of like taking
Yeah.
stock and being like, my
Mm-hmm.
kid is actually a good inside. They are innately a good kid. And we have such a hard time as adults
Yeah.
applying kid level thinking, right? We sort of start to think
Mm-hmm.
about them as adult thinking, which I feel like is the miss. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think it's great what you're doing, Jess.
Yeah.
And, it's such a great, especially for his age, a
Yeah.
great journey for him. I mean,
Yeah.
part of that life, right, is
Mm-hmm.
figuring out your friendships and
Well, yeah, and boundaries. And so one of the things is it reminds me, I love the book. If anybody's out there, an empath and you're really worried about other people and letting them down, the book Sensitive is a New Strong. And she had in there an example that makes me realize like Timmy isn't a bad person. Timmy
right.
has no idea that this is negatively impacting Giovanni. He has no,
Correct.
possibly, right? Has no idea this makes Gio hungry. It makes Gio sad. He doesn't want to do it anymore. Because that was the whole thing. When I talked to Giovanni, he didn't want to share his lunch. He
Yeah.
didn't like giving his lunch. He didn't want to do that. He didn't feel good doing that. But Timmy has no idea. So that's what we had to talk about, where it's like, you've created this situation. I didn't say it like this, Timmy. You've created this situation where your friend thinks this is what the deal is. So sometimes we get in these relationships where like, let's say we're watching our friends' kids. Let's say we're saying, hey, bring your kids over anytime. And all of a sudden your friend is dropping their kids off every single weekend. Is your friend a horrible person? No, right? You created that situation. So first you want to give the kid the benefit of the doubt. So that's what we need to talk about boundaries and if friends cross boundaries. Is that a good friend? And also respecting, because I said I'll tell the teacher, do it when I call the school. I know his mom's gonna make me text his mom, right? So we're monitoring the situation and we've decided that next we're going to text his mom and he doesn't want the school to know. So if this doesn't stop, if he tries to quadruple pinky promise at this point, I will be texting his mom. But it's funny because Gio told him, like, why don't you bring more lunch? And he was like, my lunch bag isn't big enough. And Gio was like, then get a bigger lunch bag. And then he said, I can't because it won't fit my backpack. So Gio was trying to solve these problems. But I said, what's going on? And he says he has way more in his lunch now. So hopefully Timmy has expressed to his mother, I need more lunch. I also kind of wonder if Timmy's mother is trying to give Timmy all of these like super healthy foods. And Timmy's like, I want sun chips and Go-Gurt. What Gio has, you know. You know how sometimes we pack our lunch for the ideal thing, but that's not realistic on what our child will eat. So anyway, so we're monitoring the situation. And I know I had the same issues. Even my high schooler was like feeding half the school, and I was throwing all kinds of things in her lunch for some people. In that situation, she was enjoying sharing. They were all getting free lunch, and the high schoolers kind of get the way our school works with free lunch is, let's say the lowest grades eat first, right? So the lowest grades get what the lunch is supposed to be, and then by the time you get to high school, there might be like leftover something else that didn't. Let's say it was pizza day, they
Mm-hmm.
ran out of pizza, and then the high schoolers get like slop. So you don't want to get so. My kids are always saying how disgusting the meal is, and so Gabby was like sharing with those friends, but those friends did not have the means to do that, and she wanted to share. And so in those situations, like I did throw in like extra stuff for her to like share with other people. So again, it's just kind of understanding your kids and meeting them where they're
Yeah.
at, you know. So that sounds
Yeah,
like a great
exactly.
book
100%.
to check out
No,
too.
yeah, I agree. And if you don't want to read the book, the book is by Dr. Becky Kennedy. She also has a great podcast, and there's a lot of other
Yes.
resources,
Mm-hmm.
especially for a lot of us who have older kids. I think even just reading some of the resources and articles, you can get some good stuff. So we'll put
Yeah.
those links in the show notes from today's episode.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our latest episodes as soon as they drop.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend.
Join us each week as we bring you inspiring stories, expert interviews, and actionable tips to help you navigate the challenges and opportunities of midlife. From wellness to personal growth to connection and beyond, we've got you covered.
We are passionate about helping you live your brightest, most fulfilling life. Together, we'll explore new ways to thrive and grow, ensuring that your midlife journey is full of joy, purpose, and endless possibilities.
Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together.
Find us on Instagram, Facebook at Chasing Brighter, or check out our blog at chasingbrighter.com and follow us. If you want to know more about Kelly and I, read our blogs, find more tips, tools, and resources, check that out at chasingbrighter.com. Thanks. Remember, your best life is just a listen away.